Yeah. 3-6, mafia.
Whoa, hey, yeah. Whoa, say what? Whoa, 3-6, mafia. It's going down. Y'all know what time it is. We ain't playing with you. In the club, in the street. Y'all know what time it is. Get ready for it. Oh, man alive. Way to be quick. Step up, bring it. Yes, sir.
Good evening again, everybody, and happy Friday, and welcome into Season 2, Episode number 15 of No B.S. Live here, folks, on the MI6 Sports Network. As usual, folks, on this Friday, November 13th, 2020, joined as usual by the usual No B.S. broadcast team, our good buddies Trevor Williams, Isaiah Leung, and Firmin Lee. Yours truly, Callan McClurg, joining you folks here from the home studios in San Diego, California. Hopefully, folks, that your Friday has been a very great day, and hope that all is going that all has gone to plan for you today. Trevor, good to see you, man, on the eve of another week of college football, buddy. How we doing today?
You know, doing pretty well, but sadly, Ohio State's not playing Maryland this week. So, a week without Ohio State football, what am I going to do on this Saturday? There's other good games to watch, but it's not the same not watching my Buckeyes play.
I definitely feel you, especially when someone like me who roots for like a majority of the teams, like Isaiah, but again, with Cal not playing last Saturday, like what am I going to do with my Saturday? But now, of course, they're playing UCLA on Sunday. Well, more about the college football stuff later in the show. We, of course, folks, welcome in the resident Asian Skip Bayless of the network broadcast team, our good buddy Isaiah Leung from the Garage Studios up there in Fremont, California. Isaiah, orange hoodie and all as usual. Good to see you, man. How we doing tonight?
Doing good, Callan. Winter weather has officially arrived here in the San Francisco Bay Area. Today it was pouring rain. It was cold. It was windy. So I just stayed in today, got myself a glass of hot chocolate, and also did some arts and crafts. Look what I made, guys. Look at this perfect Oregon Duck mask that I made tonight for the show. So I can't wait to show it off. Spent like 2 hours making that thing. And then, Callan, I always have trouble cooking, but today I finally learned how to steam a fish. I was talking to all these guys out there about how do I steam a fish? How do I steam a fish? And I finally did it, man. It was the best fish that I've ever had. So I'm really proud of myself for, accomplishing that task. But Callan, Firmin, Trevor, good to be with y'all once again. Glad to, be inside for once instead of being outside in the cold and in the rainy weather, and ready to talk some sports with y'all.
And of course, folks, we welcome on our good buddy Firmin Lee, also joining us today from somewhere in the Bay Area. Firmin, as always, man, good to see you again. And how we doing tonight, man? As usual, good to see you. Firmin, we got yourself on mute.
My bad, guys.
There you go.
It's good to see you, Callan, Trevor, and Isaiah. You can assume I'm from Fremont, California as well. I'm here. It's really cold and it's winter, like Isaiah said. So just got fresh off from just midterms and a lot of studying. So I'm glad to be back here at No B.S. to talk a lot of sports with you guys. And, well, I'm just going to prepare for the 49ers tank season, as it's going to begin this Sunday against the Saints. So can't wait for those top quarterback prospects coming out of the draft boards, because the 49ers are going to really need them.
They're going to need somebody. But again, folks, plenty of football, plenty of coverage. And again, thanks for making us a part of your Friday night here on the MI6 Sports Network. Of course, some of the usual suspects. Again, Christy Wilson, Chardol, and Casey checking in. Chardol, I agree with you. Isaiah, no more food talk, please. We all agree here. Some of us, had to wait for dinner tonight, as opposed to you, again, literally leaving the set a minute before we start the show to go grab a steak. Like, really, man? Come on now.
No more food talk. We have duck talk now.
Oh, goodness gracious. We go from food to duck. And also, Chrissy says, how about you guys try cold and windy here in Montana? So definitely, of course, weather. Trevor, by the way, how's the weather out in Columbus? We're kind of curious.
The high today was like 54 degrees, but like sometimes it gets low to like 15, not 15 degrees, like 25 degrees. So it's Midwest weather where you get bipolar weather. One day it's really warm, the next day it's really cold, so you don't know what you're going to get.
And also, my buddy Espen checks in. Great to see everybody, and thanks for keeping us informed. We're doing our best here to do that. And again, folks, we thank you for once more making us part of your Friday night here on this Friday the 13th, scary Oregon sound effect on the Friday the 13th here, 2020. With that, though, guys, we'll kick things off in Major League Baseball with some very amazing news in regards to the Miami Marlins breaking down some barriers, guys, and also as well with some baseball history as Kim Nang has become the first female full-time baseball general manager named today by the Miami Marlins, again in a very early Friday announcement by the ball club. You know, Trevor, I had talked a bit about this on Friday earlier in the day, and more so, this probably, while it's a surprise, Trevor, it does not surprise me, though, that we have seen more and more women who I think have some very great qualifications and credentials to be able to be on a platform like this in Major League Baseball, the NFL, the NBA, NHL, Major League Soccer, you name it, that they could do as good, if not a better job than someone in a very male-dominated industry. And again, Kim, though, like I said, though, guys, her resume speaks for itself. She's no slouch. The Yankees, the Dodgers, and a long tenure, too, of working with the American League front office and the baseball commissioner's office. Trevor, give us your thoughts here about the Marlins making this very, very awesome but also historic hiring earlier on Friday morning with, again, the first female GM being named today in Major League Baseball.
For me personally, this is starting to pave some great, movements in the sports industry, seeing more women being acclimated to the industry. Like not too long ago, we start seeing more women refs in NFL games in the NBA. So this is just going to be a continued trend. And I hope that we see more GMs become women and spice up the MLB, because having like a woman as a GM, I think it's going to motivate a lot more people to step in and get more women into sports and try to break down that barrier, saying this is only a guy sport. Anybody can really manage a team if you have the right tendencies and understand the sports and its principles. I guarantee you a lot of women will be successful in that. So I can't wait to see more women in the MLB and other sports in general.
Isaiah, you and I touched base on this on the Tuesday or the Wednesday special of the night shift, more so about Becky Hammon perhaps being groomed for the longest time by Greg Popovich to succeed Pop as the next head coach for the Spurs. And we had talked about a lot of other players, maybe more so in the NBA, Jenny Busek, Nancy Lieberman, Lindsey Harding, Christy Tolliver, 4 to 5 players perhaps that have been known around basketball. Swin Cash would be a 6th, though, who have worked in some capacity for an NBA franchise. And, of course, Becky Hammon led the Spurs Summer League team to the championship about 3 or 4 years ago. And now, though, Isaiah, more so in Major League Baseball, kind of in a way what I would call like, the boys club. It's all about the fellas. You got, males across the board. But then you see teams like the Giants and the Yankees kind of let these females in on the coaching staffs, though, full-time coaches, nothing volunteer-wise or not like an internship, but they're actual coaches with either hitting or fielding or some type of a coordinator around there. And of course, Isaiah, now we go from on the field to now the front office, where again, moves are made and dictated by the front office and by general managers and ownership groups. And now that we have Kim in charge now of the Marlins, like I said, though, plenty of times as well, Isaiah, Friday morning, this is no slouch and no like scrub hiring by the Marlins, that they're just hiring some random girl or random person, I should say, to be, pretty much to break that barrier. But also it's not, like a publicity stunt. This is like a legitimate hiring being done here by the Miami Marlins. And again, some of the very great track record, a great resume and stuff of that nature. Isaiah, your reaction, though, to the news and the Marlins, again, hiring probably one of the most powerful right now women in all of Major League Baseball to a very awesome and also the GM spot here in Major League Baseball with the Marlins.
This is a groundbreaking day in the world of sports. This day we have dreamed for many, many years of a woman finally leading a professional sports franchise has finally come. The glass ceiling has been shattered, Callan. Every little girl woke up this morning with the realization and the reality that I can now go work in professional sports. I can now go and lead a professional sports franchise, and that I can now make a difference in professional sports. It is now possible. Callan, as you mentioned earlier, you and I talked about this a couple of nights ago on the night shift, where you and me, we were talking about Becky Hammond and Nancy Lieberman and when they would get a chance to be head coaches in the NBA. And we pondered about when a woman would finally break through and get one of these jobs. And can you believe it, man? Less than 72 hours after our conversation, this happened. A woman has finally broken through and has gotten, granted, it's not a head coaching job, but still a chance to lead a major professional sports franchise. I am so happy that Kim Ng got this job, because it's about time a woman who is qualified gets one of these jobs, and Kim is as qualified and as experienced as it can get. She has spent the last 30 years working in various MLB front offices. She started with the Chicago White Sox in the 1990s. Then she worked with two of the most prominent franchises in sports, in the Yankees and the Dodgers. And then the past 9 years, she's worked in Major League Baseball headquarters. And, you know, in her time working in baseball, the teams that she has worked for, they have seen a total of 8 postseason appearances. They've won 6 league championships, and they've been to the World Series 6 times. And also, they've won 3 World Series championships. She has worked in some great front offices, and obviously, she knows what it takes to put championship ball clubs together, having worked with 3 World Series winning teams and also 6 teams that went to the World Series. She's also a great listener and a person that is very collaborative and loves to take everybody's input instead of it just being like it's my way or the highway. I think she's going to do a fantastic job with the Miami Marlins, and I think that she's a tremendous fit with the Miami Marlins, with Derek Jeter and company. And I applaud Derek Jeter and the Marlins for finally breaking the barrier and, you know, breaking all that fear that has been around baseball when it comes to hiring women for prominent jobs like this, and finally doing it and hiring a woman.
Firmin, I think that all of us are in mutual agreement here, though, that it's in a way a long time coming, maybe a little bit too long. But as we have seen, though, how the culture has changed, though, in professional sports. You know, we've had female referees at the NFL level. We've had some female assistant coaches with San Francisco. Mainly, we've had more women being involved with either agents representing players. I believe that the Seattle Kraken of the NHL named a female to be one of their main professional league scouts. We've had the NBA, of course, with many former players that are women become assistant coaches or work somewhere in the front office. Now, of course, baseball, I think, Firmin, in my opinion, was kind of the last sport to really, I think, kind of go that route, because maybe, again, the uneasiness and all the baseball tradition of it being all about, you know, the fellas and nobody else. But again, though, like I said, you know, maybe earlier in the program, but again, we've had 2 female assistant coaches now in Major League Baseball with the Giants and the Yankees. And of course, we've had plenty of, you know, women involved with single team front offices. But now, though, Firmin, a female general manager who, again, dictates the roster makeup is now in charge with the Marlins. Firmin, your reaction and your thoughts to the story again of the Marlins and the first female GM hired in Major League Baseball history as of Friday morning.
Yeah, this is something actually really, really big when this story broke out, because usually, like you said, baseball is just really like a grown man sport that people just pay attention to, even if you're managing the team or you're the chief of executive office. You're usually, the people in those positions are just guys or just businessmen or former MLB players. And this has been a pretty consistent culture around all sports. And on top of that, you have softball organizations. So in that sport, that's where all the women play a variant of baseball, and that's usually where they're represented.
Right.
However, this is something really, really huge, because now that you have a general manager being hired, and it's the first woman in history to do so, this is a really groundbreaking day for the entire sports community. I'm glad that this happened, and I'm glad that Derek Jeter made it happen for the Miami Marlins, because this is, like I said, this is the next big step, and it's just really representing the movements and just how all of us are just willing to move forward in the sports industry. And just looking at Kim Ng and her resume, even though she is the first woman or the first Asian American to really break into the sports as a general manager. She has a really good background. She was the assistant general manager for the Yankees, and also she was an assistant general manager for the Dodgers. These two are the biggest organizations in baseball right now, in both the American and the National League. Both of these ball clubs have always consistently made it to the postseason and also won a lot of World Series championships. So in addition to her uniqueness, her being the first woman, she also has a great background behind her, and I think she's going to do great for Miami. So I'm glad that Miami Marlins organization gave her an opportunity to really represent the team and try to help that team get better over the years.
Absolutely. And again, like I said, though, folks, probably no one more qualified or better for a baseball front office perspective than hiring Kim. Guys, plenty of thoughts, though, about this rolling in from the great MI6 faithful. Christy Wilson writes in the Marlins hiring a woman to be their GM is awesome, in her opinion, definitely for sure. James Gonzalez, guys, he writes in, I'm rooting for her. Hopefully can change the Marlins culture for good. No more fire sales, and please, no more bad trades. I definitely hope so, because that franchise needs to definitely help things out here. Also, Casey King writes in, congrats to Kim on getting the job. She deserves a shot. Met her a couple of times when she worked for the Dodgers under Ned Colletti. Very knowledgeable of the game, so that's also good to know. Christy agrees with you and me, Isaiah. Now I'm hoping for Becky Hammon to become the NBA's first female head coach. Same here. And I think a lot of people agree. James, though, I think one's up, Christy. Now I can't wait for a female manager on the field. That will be one great day when that happens. Isaiah, what do you have to say?
Can I one up both of them with one more? I cannot wait for the day we have our first female president of the United States of America. That will truly be a groundbreaking day, not only in our country, but in the entire world.
Also, we have Christy Wilson. There are now women being hired to be referees in pro wrestling. I actually have a friend of mine who works in the underground circuits here in Southern California who's also doing some female refereeing as well. And also, real quick, Chardal wanted to name drop the Giants head coach, Alyssa Nakin, who played at Sacramento State. First full-time coach in Major League history and first coach to be on the field during a Major League game, which I think was very awesome. Both the Giants and Yankees setting the standards right there with female coaches being on the field. Also, Casey says the Angels should have given her a chance. I mean, probably was in the running. Who knows? But we'll see how things go. And also some more thoughts. John Mathis, guys, writes in via the MI6 page. Very historic day. She can pave the way for many women with dreams. I think John hit the nail right on the head there. But again, folks, Kim Ney, the first female full-time GM hired by the Miami Marlins today, and the first one to come in Major League Baseball. With that, guys, we had some Thursday night action on Thursday in Week 10 of the NFL season as the Colts pounded the Titans 35-17 from Nissan Stadium down there in Nashville, Tennessee. Trevor, we'll start with you, though. Probably a game, though, that people may not view as an upset, even though majority, if not all of us, in some way probably had the Titans winning this ball game. But at the same time, though, Tennessee sadly coming unglued late in this ball game, and that the Colts, though, took advantage of those mistakes in this game to win it, and also more than anything else, they'll still keep position or keep that battle going for first place in the AFC South Division. Trevor, your thoughts as the Colts go into Nashville and take the game from the Titans on the road?
I think that the Titans are still going to be all right. They're 6-3 right now, so they're still in the hunt for the division. Things can happen to the Colts and where they can get back in the playoff picture. So there's nothing to fret, and they have a spot for the wild card. Also, I think that the Colts and Phillip Rivers are trying to make a playoff push, and I think on the lines that Phillip Rivers is trying to get to the Super Bowl and end out on the best way possible for his career, and doing with the 6-3 Colts team, getting a chance to, win that division and go on further. I think this is just more of like to show that the Colts are a playoff caliber team and be able to do a deep run in the playoff picture.
Firmin, Phillip Rivers obviously looked good in this game, though probably not great, but still good enough to win the ball game in Tennessee. I had gone with the Colts or with the Titans in the game because I really had a lot of faith and kind of in a way faith and trust in Derrick Henry to run over the Colts defense. So, but sadly, it was kind of like it kind of came in waves, though, in this ball game. But, of course, the Colts won the game, though, pretty handily, 35-17. Firmin, reaction to the game as the Colts win over the Titans in Nashville on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about the Titans because I think everyone expected them to win. But I will start with the Colts. Just talk about this team and what they've gone through in the past 2 years. Ever since Andrew Luck retired, I think they made a great move getting Phillip Rivers, who's a veteran, to this team. I mean, honestly, this game could have gone both ways, but I honestly thought it would be a lot closer than I expected. But Phillip Rivers, he's been pretty inconsistent in the last 2 seasons, but he's played surprisingly well yesterday against the Tennessee Titans, who's their division rival. So, big props to Phillip Rivers, and I also like to, just shout out the Colts defense because this defense has been a big part of the Colts 6-3 run so far. And I'm just looking at the rest of the Colts schedule, and it seems pretty even out for them. I think if the Colts have this momentum going like this, they're going to make the playoffs easily or potentially just win the division again, because what I'm seeing right now is that the Tennessee Titans are really struggling. And yesterday's game was honestly very surprising because Tennessee jumped on a huge offensive run in the first half, and they scored all of their points in the first half. They had a lead, and I thought the Tennessee Titans would just pull the game away by the second half. But just the moment I think it was that moment they had that special teams punt that just went completely wrong. I believe his name was Trevor Daniels or
Correct.
Trevor Daniel. He completely shanked the punt, and it just turned the game around like a complete 180 from that point on into the Colts' favor. So this just proves and says of how important a special teams unit is, and the Titans really need to step it up because in the past 2 years, I don't know what it is, but they always have some sort of problems going on with their special teams unit. The first thing I see from the Titans' performance, or the first takeaway, is that they really need to get rid of Steven Gostkowski because for some reason he's just been missing every single field goal. Like, I don't know how he had such a great career in the Patriots, and all of a sudden when he ends up in a new team in his first season, he just plays or performs completely worse, compared to his previous seasons. It reminds me of like Blair Walsh. So the Titans really need to figure that out. And also, since Brett Kern is in the IR, the Titans really need to figure out a better replacement for their punting unit, because Trevor Daniel clearly yesterday, he was the reason that caused that huge momentum shift in the Colts' favor. You cannot have any special teams mistakes, especially missing field goals or shaking punts. And if you're the Tennessee Titans, I'm really concerned about this team because your next 3 games, you're going to have to face the Ravens, the Colts again, and the Cleveland Browns. So you guys are 6-3, which is a pretty good record, but you guys started 5-0, and now all of the games you've been playing, you've been just losing a lot of these crucial key games, especially yesterday against the Colts. Honestly, I think the Titans' season is in jeopardy, and everyone has a lot of expectations for them because last season they rallied and completely destroyed the Ravens in the postseason. They had a huge lead. They also defeated the Patriots and had a huge lead against the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, and they almost made it to the Super Bowl. But right now, Tennessee's showing a lot of inconsistency, and yeah, it's a lot of different things. It's not just their special teams that I've been talking about. Their defense also has to step it up. It's been pretty bad recently. And also their offense, I think their passing game is just, something's happening to their passing game because Ryan Tannehill, they've been relying too much on Derrick Henry's runs, and Tannehill's been out of momentum. He's been out of just his offense isn't moving in his favor right now. So I think the Titans are going to have their 5th consecutive 9-7 season moving forward because of how inconsistent they are.
Guys, I think I glanced at a story on Yahoo today that read that the punter, Trevor Daniel, was working as a delivery driver for FedEx when he got a call from the Titans saying, can you come out and try to be our punter? And that's why he got the job, because of Brett Kern's injury. But Isaiah, I do think, though, that Firmin's onto a valid point, though, is yes, offense and defense is both, is on both sides of the ball, though. but special teams still does quantify as part of being a team. And I don't know, guys, if I've seen a kicker like Steven Gostkowski, who again had, like Firmin said, a great career in New England, but he leaves and then just can't seem to make a kick for what looks to be like his life, basically. I don't know if I've seen this many missed field goals by one kicker throughout the course of an entire NFL regular season through 10 weeks. And also that really special teams was the backbreaker in this game, Isaiah, in my mind. Again, the shank punt by the punter. And again, Gostkowski still somehow, some way missing field goals, though. And some very big moments for this Titans ball club has somewhat perhaps maybe hurt them a little bit with how people perceive them because about Derrick Henry's play, how Ryan Tannehill's looked. Their defenses look good in some games, though, but that the special teams has really, I think, stabbed this team in the back several times so far in the year. Isaiah, your thoughts about the Colts going into Nashville and knocking out the Titans pretty handily on Thursday, 35-17.
Yeah, my thoughts on this game is I think what everybody has said here on the panel, and that is the Titans self-destructed. The Titans, they came out to an early lead. They had momentum there in the first half, but that block punt that was returned for the touchdown really changed everything, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Callan, I think the Titans were up 10-0 at that point, and then the block punt happened, and then the Colts score a touchdown with the block punt, and then they basically flipped the script from there. It was 10-7, and then you had the shanked punt, which was only for 17 yards, and then those missed field goals by Steven Gostkowski. The Titans, they just self-destructed. They had this game, but their special teams really killed them. And I don't know what's going on with Steven Gostkowski. I mean, like you guys said, he had a terrific career with the New England Patriots, but now with the Tennessee Titans on a new ball club, the guy can't seem to make a kick to save his life. He's missed 8 field goals, which is really uncharacteristic of him. So I don't know what's going on with the Titans. Maybe they need to get a new kicker. Maybe they need to try to sign the former Patriots punter, Ryan Allen, who has some chemistry with Steven Gostkowski. Maybe that'll help him out. But the Titans need to figure out their special teams, because if your special teams acts like this when it comes to the playoffs, you're not gonna go deep into the playoffs. You'll probably be bounced in the first round.
So again, folks, the Colts beat up on the Titans from Nashville, Tennessee, 35-17 on Thursday Night Football. Just a couple of thoughts here, guys, from Casey King about this game. Not surprised that the Colts won the game. He still thinks that the Titans will get in the postseason. I think so, too. Again, it's just probably a matter, though, of hopefully polishing up some of those miscues, though, on special teams. But again, the Colts beat the Titans on Thursday Night Football, 35-17. With that in mind, though, folks, we'll stay here in the NFL, and we'll go to Isaiah first. And this one, of course, Isaiah, the Niners get ready for another ball game coming up this week versus the New Orleans Saints. But, of course, Isaiah, this is your question to more so answer than anybody else here. So with that, Isaiah, what should the Niners do at quarterback for next season? Stick with Jimmy G or Nick Mullins, or do they try to acquire a veteran quarterback like a Matt Ryan or Kirk Cousins, or try and draft Justin Fields or Zach Wilson or Trey Lance? Isaiah, we'll go to you first, and then we'll go to Firmin, and then we'll go to Trevor. But Isaiah, your thoughts on your own question asked for this NFL segment.
Well, Callan, Trevor, Firmin, I think what the Niners should do is I think they should sign Nick Mullins to a 10-year, $300 million extension, because he's clearly the franchise quarterback moving forward. He's the next Tom. Now, obviously, I'm joking, but what the 49ers should do is I think the Niners should keep Nick Mullins and draft Zach Wilson and have him sit behind Nick Mullins for a year to develop. Let's face it, guys. Nick Mullins, he's not going to be the next Tom Brady. He's not going to be the next Patrick Mahomes. I think everybody has come to terms with it. I know I've come to terms with that. Isn't that surprising, given the fact... Given the fact that I've been raw Nick Mullins for the last 3, 4, 5 weeks. But Nick Mullins, he is not going to be the most athletic quarterback in the world. This guy has a ceiling, and that is Alex Smith at best, or game manager. I've been loving Zach Wilson ever since he torched USC when BYU played USC last season, and I saw this ridiculous play that he made to keep a drive alive in the fourth quarter that ultimately helped BYU tie that game and ultimately win that game. Callan, I think we do have that play on video. Do we have that?
He'll throw it here on first down. Pressure up the middle. Wilson gets away from trouble. Oh, wide open receiver. It's caught inside the 20. Out of an empty set here. It's a design quarterback run for Wilson. Straight ahead. First down and touchdown.
As you guys can see there, this kid, he is so gifted. He's got a cannon of an arm. He can throw the ball downfield 40 to 50 yards. He can run around and throw pinpoint accurate passes on the run, which is very rare for any quarterback because that is very hard to do. I normally don't say this, but I really believe that this kid could be the next Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers. I mean, you watch those plays and you see some Mahomes and some Rodgers in this kid. Like, look at that play where, Callan, can you show that video again, that first video where he runs around and heaves it deep for a 50-yard bomb.
He'll throw it here on first down. Pressure up the middle. Wilson gets away from trouble. Oh, wide open receiver. It's caught inside the 20. Out of an empty set here. It's a design quarterback run for Wilson. Straight ahead. First down and touchdown.
Here's you, here's Matt, there's you, there.
Just look at that first play. That is like something Patrick Mahomes can only do. But ladies and gentlemen, having said all of that, this kid is raw and he's going to need time to develop. So if you throw him into the fire right away, like in 2021 or next season, you're going to be hurting your franchise as much as you're hurting him. Because let's say you throw him into the wolves on day one and he stinks up the joint and the kid can end up being like Jamarcus Russell and completely loses confidence. And then he'll suck for the next 2 or 3 years because his confidence will be so damn low. And then he'll be off your team and you're going to be back to square one and looking for another quarterback. You don't want that. So let's let Nick Mullins game manage next season and try to get you however far he can get you with all the weapons that you have, like Mostert, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, etc., and also all those guys coming back on defense. And then just like what the Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes, have him sit down for a year, learn, and then have him ready for the year after. I think that would be the perfect plan for the San Francisco 49ers.
So, Firmin, the other resident Niner fan, a part of the No BS panel, Isaiah is saying to go and get Zach Wilson, the quarterback from BYU, which I believe the last notable quarterback in my mind coming out of BYU, Steve Young and the punky QB, Jim McMahon for the 85 Bears is like the last two. And Taysom Hill will be a third out of Brigham Young University, but at least 2 of the 3 actually played. Taysom Hill's more of a guy who just comes in and bowls over people on third down as a blocker. But Firmin, give us your thoughts here about this very interesting Niners quarterback situation.
Yeah, I'm going to address all parts of the question that you guys initially addressed. So the 49ers have Jimmy G and Nick Mullins, and I originally, I had a lot of trust in Jimmy G after his 2017 season. But it's always this one thing where this player signs a huge contract and that's the most important player on your team, usually it just doesn't end up well. I've seen this with a lot of guys like Kaepernick. We signed a huge contract with him, and in the following season, he completely, he just played really bad. Jared Goff, same thing, signed a huge contract, and now with the Rams, he's not looking like he once was before. So the same thing happened with Jimmy G, and especially since his ACL injury and now his ankle injury, I don't think Jimmy G is the same quarterback as we've seen before. He's a lot less athletic, and he relies heavily on a good offensive line in order to perform well as a quarterback. And if he's not going to make accurate throws, that are short intermediate throws that he's usually really good at, if he can't make any deep throws that he can utilize when 49ers are in need in a clutch moments, he's not going to be our answer for the future, regardless of how expensive he is and how much we've signed his contract for. I really think that his injury really tainted him on the field. He just really it looked like something took a stab at his right knee no, I think it was his left knee. Yes, left knee, right ankle. Just he's completely immobile once he's in the pocket right now. And once everything starts breaking down, you've seen what Zach Wilson did in that previous play, in that video you showed. Jimmy G can't do that anymore. He cannot scramble. He can't really make plays out of pocket like Aaron Rodgers. He's just a standalone statue behind a comfortable pocket in an offensive line. And that's not going to be the answer for the 49ers future. Nick Mullins, I've always repped him, and Isaiah has repped him as well. I think he's a great player, but I think for his ceiling, at least, I think at most he's a game manager and a decent backup to be utilized for a team, because we've seen it many times when Nick Mullins tries to step in when the game is really close and the 49ers really have to get a good drive going. He makes a lot of really boneheaded decisions. We've seen this against the Bears when on that 4th down play, he decided to pass the ball when he had a wide open 1st down. And against the Eagles, he was under pressure. He threw the ball straight to the defenders. And same thing with the Green Bay Packers. He did the exact same thing, throwing the ball straight to the Green Bay defenders when nobody was open. So I think last week was the last straw that I've seen from Nick Mullins. I think we have to move on from him and pursue another quarterback. So the options you just mentioned were veteran quarterbacks Matt Ryan or Kirk Cousins in the free agency. I would strongly advise against this idea because Kirk Cousins, obviously, you've seen him in Minnesota, got paid big, and look at what happened. It's not working out. Matt Ryan, he's getting to his peak. I don't think he's at least in my opinion, the same quarterback he once was. He doesn't have the same arm. He also is very immobile in the pocket. He takes too many sacks, and that is our main issue with our quarterbacks right now. So we need to find a quarterback who has a strong arm, a strong, accurate arm, and is also athletic enough to scramble around and make plays like Aaron Rodgers, moving in and out of the pockets. So with this draft coming up, there's a lot of great quarterbacks. Obviously, the big names are Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, but realistically, looking at the 49ers outcome of the season, even if we're going to tank, we already have 4 wins. So I highly doubt we're going to be making it to the top 5 or top 10 picks of the 2021 season. I think we're going to have to look more in terms of trading up for a top 10 pick, or just wait for our picks within the top 15. And if a quarterback falls down, we could hopefully go after that. So with that being said, we seriously need to get either one of these 2 quarterbacks, Zach Wilson or Trey Lance. We need these guys, either one of these quarterbacks on our team ASAP, because these are the best playmakers in college football right now. These guys do everything the best they can out of pocket, and they are not your traditional, pocket passer who relies on a good offensive line. We don't want to end up like Nick Foles in the Bears. We just want a good player like Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, who's shifty, moves around the pocket, and still has a cannon arm. So please, 49ers, you got to look into Zach Wilson or Trey Lance, all right? And I think we should look more into Trey Lance, because Zach Wilson, he has recently risen up in the draft stocks to the top 5. And if we're seriously going to go after Zach Wilson, I think we really have to trade up in order to make that pick work. Other than that, Trey Lance has fallen down, I think, within the top 10. I think Trey Lance is a more realistic option. He's also 6'4", has a bigger frame, and he's just as athletic as Zach Wilson. So I think in long terms, he's probably more durable than Zach Wilson. And Trey Lance makes a lot of great plays in North Dakota State. I mean, I've seen all his highlights. I know everybody's talking about how bad of a game he had this season. That was his only game. But look at what happened in the season before. He was a much better version of Carson Wentz. So if Carson Wentz got picked second, Trey Lance should not be overlooked. This guy has to be our quarterback. So if you're the 49ers, if you're John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, please go after Trey Lance in 2021. He has to be our quarterback.
Hey, don't sleep on those FCS guys. I'm telling you, don't sleep on North Dakota State and the University of San Diego football teams. We got some good football brewing at the FCS level in the Pioneer League here in Southern California. So, Trevor, we heard from the 2 resident Niner fans on this subject. What say you?
I think that Jimmy G is probably going to end up staying in San Francisco. They're going to give him one more year. If he gets injured, they're going to need to find a backup quarterback. And I think definitely in the draft, they're going to need to seek out for this quarterback position. So if I was the 49ers, that's what the thing I would mainly focus on. But obviously, you got to give this man another chance, though you give him time and time again, coming off of the Super Bowl loss and you going into this season. It's been a bit of a struggle with injuries, but it's been a bad year from the start. So I would give him next year. If he gets injured again, you replace him. And even in this upcoming draft, you draft up an up-and-coming quarterback, you train him, and you just get him acclimated to the system. So when you do the switch like we have with Tua and Fitzmagic, you was able to see the nice transition over, and Tua has been great ever since. So the 49ers could do the same thing with Jimmy G if he starts being bad next year. So that's what I think the 49ers should end up doing in the long grand scheme of it all.
I think if the Niners are watching this season closely, if you're going to be switching quarterbacks, you need to make sure it's like the Dolphins and not like the Bears, where you have gone from a rookie quarterback, second-year quarterback, third-year quarterback to a proven veteran who's regressed. And again, it's been all about play calling and stuff like that, where more so it's got to be, in my mind, a Dolphins issue where you go from the vet to the rookie and see if he can at least get his feet wet. But honestly, I don't really see how, in fact, things will happen here at this juncture with the Niners right now with how things go. I do think, though, that right now, guys, that they're probably not going to crack the top 5 at this rate because of their record right now. And, of course, you got 2 dismal New York teams. You've got the rest of the NFC East. You've got, plenty of things going on there. But if they're maybe top 10 somewhere and there's a quarterback available, I just say you pick the best option at quarterback, even if Wilson isn't on the board or whatever it is. But I would think, though, that I'm in agreement with Trevor. Garoppolo gets one more year, but if he gets hurt, then I'm done with him. If he gets hurt one more time next season, then I am not touching him with a 10-foot pole come next season when that does, in fact, roll around. Isaiah, what do you got for us?
My faith in Jimmy Garoppolo ended that fateful day in Seattle when Jimmy Garoppolo foolishly had 2 plays. He had Trent Taylor wide open coming across the middle on 3rd and 10, and he couldn't throw. He had him too. There was no pressure, and he doesn't throw him the ball. He takes a sack, and then that play.
Come on, Jimmy, we got to get this first down. Hasty's open! Hasty, oh my God, you take a damn sack. He was wide open. Are you far?
Here's you.
That was
There's you there.
Hey, he took the sack at least.
That was the straw that broke the camel's back for me on Jimmy Garoppolo, was when he missed that play. I'm done with Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't want to see him again in San Francisco.
Firmin, what do you got?
We're both done. All right. You and Trevor are saying that we need to give him one more year. Just think about your situation with the Bears right now with the quarterbacks. It's the exact same thing that we're dealing with right now.
But I think Chicago is worse because it's like the blame gets on Nagy, the blame's on Foles, it's on Trubisky, it's on, and we'll have more about the Chicago game. But Chicago's way worse than San Francisco. Give me a break.
But if I'm the 49ers, if you're looking at this draft right now, this is a must. We cannot miss out on this draft class because these quarterbacks, I feel like these are the best quarterback options, just like last year's. And we have to cash in on these because if we're going to wait until next season, you don't know which quarterbacks are going to come out. And right now we have a set. We know who to expect. We know their projected expectations in the NFL, and these guys are great. So what I would do is like what Trevor said. I would pull a Miami Dolphins. I would quickly draft a quarterback, most likely Trey Lance. Please draft him and sit him out for like half the season. Give Jimmy G, some chance to, do something. If he can't do anything halfway through the season, then put in Trey Lance. I mean, I guess that's what Jordan Love or the Packers are trying to do with Jordan Love as well. So, you can just draft a quarterback at any time. But if you see a really good option right now, you see a really good quarterback on the draft board, you need to take advantage of it.
And especially in my mind as well, if in fact that Green Bay already has a division, a playoff spot already locked up, I could see them perhaps bringing Jordan Love in to get his feet wet at least later in the season, maybe, who knows. But again, folks, it's where we sit right now on the 49ers and their quarterback situation. A couple of thoughts, guys, real quick. From Casey King. Casey writes, not a Niners fan, but I will give Jimmy G one more year as well. If he does not get it done, then move forward again, more so maybe in that window where again he gets hurt, you move or make that transition. And Casey agrees with me. The Bears are definitely worse in their quarterback situation than San Francisco. I'm glad someone else out there agrees with me about the warful Chicago Bears right now and how they've looked so far. With that, guys, we're sitting ever so closer to the NBA draft coming up this Wednesday, November 18th. Again, getting underway sometime in the 4 o'clock time frame on ESPN or the ESPN family of networks. But of course, guys, plenty, though, of wheeling and dealing already kind of getting in the works right now with the NBA and, of course, trades that could be made. Isaiah, we'll go to you first more. So the first move, though, here perhaps that is going on, the Lakers and the defending NBA champs looking at perhaps dealing away both Kyle Kuzma and veteran shooter Danny Green to San Antonio for DeMar DeRozan, who, of course, guys, had spent most of his career with the Toronto Raptors before going to San Antonio recently. But also as well that Danny Green would go back to a ball club he won his first NBA title with. Isaiah, I don't know, though, if the Spurs are interested in takebacks, though, with them perhaps getting Danny Green back, though. But the Lakers, though, with that trade package right there, to me, sounds like it could be a very good trade package for any ball club out there looking to perhaps get rid of one player, perhaps cut some salary. Isaiah, give us your thoughts, and does this trade in your mind work for the Lakers between them and San Antonio?
Well, in terms of this trade, I think it works because it gives you a third option like that. Because, we need a third option behind LeBron and AD and, Callan, me, you, John, Firmin, I'm pretty sure has said many times on this show that the Lakers need a third star. We need a third star because the NBA is not going anywhere but up in the nearby future. You've got the teams right now with the Clippers, the Rockets. We don't know what the Rockets are going to do, but I'll put the Rockets in there, given the fact that they still have James Harden and Russell Westbrook. You do have Denver. Denver's on the come up. Phoenix is on the come up. Also, I feel like I'm leaving out one more team. The Jazz, the Mavericks, they're going to continue to get better. Plus, on the Eastern Conference side, you've got Miami. They just went to the NBA Finals. There's rumors that they might get Giannis Antetokounmpo next offseason. The Brooklyn Nets, they got KD and Kyrie, and they got that deep bench with Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Jarrett Allen. And they also, there's trade rumors out there that they might get James Harden as well. So if they get James Harden, then they're going to be even tougher. Boston with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker, they're going to be there. So, the NBA is like the talent in the NBA is not going to go anywhere but up in the nearby future. So, Callan, Trevor, Firmin, I like this move by the Lakers or this potential move, but I don't love it. Me personally, I want Victor Oladipo instead of DeMar DeRozan. I think that we can all agree that regardless of which one of these guys ends up in the purple and gold, they're gonna be a third option, like I said earlier, behind LeBron and Anthony Davis. All you need them to do is to run the offense and score when LeBron James goes to the bench, and also just give us 18 to 20 points a game. Having said all of that, I think that both of these guys would definitely cost you your top two trade assets and Kyle Kuzma and Danny Green. So if I had to pick between both of these two guys, I would go with Oladipo simply because he is cheaper. I think Oladipo right now is making $21 million this season and his final year of his contract, and DeMar DeRozan is making $27 million. He's also in the final year of his contract. So you would be saving $6 million that you can use in the future to go sign some veterans or other pieces to put around this potential big three. Also, like these two guys, if you get any of them, like you won't be jeopardizing your salary cap for the 2021 offseason when guys like Giannis, Oladipo, Giannis, Oladipo, Kawhi, Paul George, they could be free agents. So you're not going to be jeopardizing any of that salary cap any of that salary cap space for that. And also, Oladipo's younger and he can shoot the three ball pretty well and he can play off the ball. These are some of the things that DeMar DeRozan cannot do. Last year, DeMar DeRozan didn't attempt one single three-pointer. Instead, he focused more on the mid-range game and driving to the basket and getting layups and dunks. LeBron James needs three-point shooters around him. We saw what happened when the Lakers tried to put guys that could thrive in the mid-range game and go to the basket, but sucks at shooting threes like Lance Stevenson and Michael Beasley. They did that the year prior to last season, and that ended up being an utter disaster. And also, as I mentioned earlier, Oladipo doesn't need the ball. While DeMar DeRozan primarily thrives with the ball in his hands. So him and LeBron, I believe, are going to clash in that regard. So if I'm Rob Pelinka and the Lakers GM, if I'm gonna trade Kuzma and Danny Green, my first priority would be to try to get Victor Oladipo. But if Indiana simply isn't going to trade him, then you pivot and go get DeRozan. But Oladipo has to be prioritized as the first option, though.
Now, Trevor, the only problem I think I have here with the Oladipo rumors is there's been some reports put out, I believe Friday, if not Thursday, that Oladipo has kind of torn. I've heard reports of him wanting to stay, him wanting to go, but more so they would probably want to remain loyal to that franchise. So I get the fixation about Oladipo, but I wouldn't probably do it though if the guy's going to get into become a free agent like the year after he comes to Los Angeles. So more so, I still like the DeRozan idea, but if that proposal, I think, Trevor, does not work, I would still keep that Kuzma and Green trade package still there, though, for any team that wants to take the offer, whether it's for one more player, maybe it's perhaps some compensation with draft picks, maybe. But, Trevor, your thoughts, again, about this potential trade between the Lakers and Spurs. Again, DeRozan to L.A. for Kuzma and Danny Green.
I feel like Lakers can do this package deal and trade it. But it's really hard because at this point, the Lakers are set to repeat for the NBA championship. And they really don't need to move too many moving pieces, though having another superstar to help out Anthony Davis and LeBron James will make their life a whole lot easier. But I think, Kuzma could step up in next year and just being a traditional, more of an additional factor for the Lakers, keep them as the number one seed, or just try to find an up-and-coming star that would fit in the LA system. So when LeBron James and Anthony Davis decide to part ways, they're not in the position where they're going to be like a 15-win team and just struggling and scrapping for the lottery again. So I think they need to break the lines becoming a super team or becoming a dynasty. And I think more fans would rather them to become a dynasty and build that up versus them trying to win, a three-peat and then never being back in the postseason for like the next 10 years. So I think that's what the Lakers need to try to focus on.
So again, Firmin, maybe some reports here, but again, I know a lot of people, though, Firmin, probably had their thoughts, though, about, how much wheeling and dealing would be done, though, with free agency and trades, though, during a season. Now it's going to be marred by a global pandemic and a 72-game regular season. But Firmin, it seems to me, though, man, that these teams don't really care about that going on right now, because we've heard some rumors about the Clippers and Russell Westbrook. We've heard rumors about more so about this trade. But Firmin, in your mind, though, how would this trade work for the Lakers, though, again, getting DeMar DeRozan perhaps from the Spurs for both Kyle Kuzma and Danny Green?
I think this trade could work. It's not the best trade in the world for the Lakers, it's not the best decision for them, but this trade is a really good trade because Kyle Kuzma, unlike what Trevor said, I don't think he can perform well. When you put him in the bench, it just doesn't work out for him. And Kuzma just doesn't show up, especially in the NBA Finals. He's already a liability on defense, so he needs to rely heavily on his offense in order, for me at least, to gain the trust to give him that contract that he deserves. And then on top of that, Danny Green, don't even mention his name anymore. I mean, this guy airballed like 2 straight threes, including that final 3 that cost us game 5, I believe. Danny Green's great on defense, but where was that same Danny Green from the San Antonio Spurs? We overpaid him. That's the point. And we're not going to really need to continue overpaying players that literally can't contribute to anything on offense. So it's a great trade because DeRozan, you've seen how he's worked out with the Raptors and the Spurs. I honestly don't think he's going to be a part of the big three for the Lakers offense, but it does help the Lakers in a way because we do have another at least player that is a threat in the mid-range, a threat in the post, at least in that aspect. But DeMar DeRozan, I think he's past his peak. And also, we really need the Lakers really need a better player in the playoffs to, players that do not become inconsistent, at least in the postseason. You see PG-13 being really inconsistent with the Clippers, and that's not a good sign. DeRozan, and that's my problem with DeRozan. Like DeRozan in Toronto when he was with the Raptors, he had the same issue. He was inconsistent. He started to miss a lot of his shots, and it just wasn't going in. So to really consider someone as a big three, you're gonna have to go for someone that has a higher impact on offense, both in the regular season and the postseason. So going into my next point, what I think the Lakers should do instead is to really look into some ways to solidify their bench. LeBron and AD are already solid members for the starting core. Now you just need to find someone in the bench that could do almost the same thing, sort of like a Lou Williams. We tried doing that with Kuzma and it didn't work out. So we should try to explore some deals with him, get at least a quality bench player to help the Lakers, because here's my opinion on the Lakers. I don't really believe they deserved that last championship because it was a very messy performance by the Lakers. In my opinion, the Lakers have the worst bench in the NBA. And if you take out AD or LeBron, that team is worthless. It's just they're not going to be the same team without those two players, at least playing on the court. So the Lakers, I don't think they're due for another championship next season. It's going to be a very tough one for them. And the main reason is because of the Warriors. All their players are going to come back next season. I mean, look at Curry, man. Look at Clay and everyone else. They're all back. So if you're going to put the current Lakers roster against the Warriors, I don't think they're going to stand a chance. And I think what they should do instead to tackle this offseason is to really model what the Warriors did in 2015. You need to solidify your bench. The Warriors had a really good starting core with the Splash Brothers back then. And look what their bench did. When Steph and Clay were taken out of the game, Sean Livingston, Maurice Spates, David Lee, and Leandro Barbosa, these guys are not these guys are veteran players that used to be in their primes, but now that they've gone away from that, they've accepted their role as a bench warmer, but when they come out in the fields, they still make a huge impact for the bench. And that's what the Lakers need, like Andre Iguodala, Livingston. As of now, I think there's not a lot of options, at least in terms of reliable players, but a player that I can possibly see that could really benefit the Lakers. I know it's not going to happen, but ideally, I would want to see a player like Derrick Rose come off the bench for the Lakers as a sixth man. So when LeBron and AD gets off the court, D Rose, someone like him, can really have a huge impact and still continue to score a lot of points off the bench and continue to apply that pressure against the other teams that they face.
I would give some love to Dwight Howard as well, fellas, with how he did, in fact, embrace that role of coming off the bench and kind of giving LeBron or AD some time away. And I thought he looked very spectacular coming off the bench. I would also think, though, like a Derrick Rose situation or, someone like a Lou Williams, maybe Montrezl Harrell could maybe fit that mold, though, being that sixth man, though. But again, it's more so about that price tag. But again, folks, perhaps DeMar DeRozan, per reports for Kuzma and Green to the LA Lakers, as Casey King writes in. Don't forget that DeMar would be also coming back to Los Angeles and also being a former USC Trojan. Would love to see him back home as well. And that's also perhaps with Russell Westbrook, a UCLA Bruin, perhaps going to the LA Clippers, per some of the reports. With that, guys, again, draft day is coming up on Wednesday, November 18th. And we also, guys, have some other rumblings going on of a potential 3-team trade involving two of the previous championship winners, both Golden State and Cleveland, and an unnamed third team that is discussing a trade, fellas, that would send Kevin Love to Golden State and Draymond Green to that unnamed third ball club in the NBA. Isaiah, give us your thoughts here about this very interesting situation. And again, more so, very surprising, I think, though, in a lot of people's minds to see so many rumors already coming up before the draft and also during a season, of a global pandemic and also a very condensed 72-game regular season.
Well, Callan, my thoughts on this when I first heard the news was it just came out of left field. We never heard of. I know we heard about the Warriors being interested in Kevin Love back when he was in Minnesota. They were reportedly going to trade Klay Thompson for Kevin Love, but they ultimately opted against it. But when I look at this trade, my questions are, is like it's a 3-team trade. Draymond would go to that unnamed third team. Kevin Love would go to the Warriors. So who would go to Cleveland? Is Cleveland getting that Warriors number 2 pick? Because if the Cavs are getting that number 2 pick and the Warriors are dealing that pick away, I'm like, that's a terrible trade. But if they're getting like a 2nd round pick and some
cash considerations, maybe.
Cash considerations, then I think it's a good trade, because when you look at Kevin Love, last year he played all the games in the season. He played 56 games, 17.6 points per game average, shot 45% from the field, 9.8 rebounds per game, 3.2 assists per game. This guy stretches the floor for you. He can rebound. He can defend. Like, he can kind of defend the paint. Not really the best defender in the world, but hey, Golden State, with him added to the lineup, I think he's a major upgrade over Draymond Green, because I know he's not going to be the raw heart and soul type of your team, but he's a guy that can, stretch out and be another weapon for this already loaded Golden State Warriors ball club, which already has Curry, Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, and now you add in a Draymond Green and potentially a LaMelo Ball off the bench. So I like the trade, but I have to see what they're giving up to actually give a full assessment of it, because if you're giving up the number 2 pick, then that's obviously really stupid.
Yeah, Trevor, this trade to me makes no sense for Cleveland more so to be a part of this deal. I know, of course, they're sending in this trade Kevin Love to Golden State again. They had inquired about him, as Isaiah alluded to, when he was with the Wolves, though, many years ago. But it still, to me, makes no sense, though, and also that this one kind of came out of left, because I heard a lot about the DeRozan rumors, Westbrook to the Clippers rumors, but never heard any rumors or talk, at least, about this deal being consummated. But also the two big talking points is already mentioned, though, that Isaiah brought up, though. What are the Cavs getting, and who's the mystery team involved in this trade? Trevor, does this deal in your mind make any sense to you?
This deal doesn't make any sense. Like, why? Who came up with this deal, first of all? Like, it makes no sense. It doesn't belong here. Kevin Love has passed his prime, and I understand Cleveland's trying to get rid of him because of, like, salary cap and, making more space for up-and-coming players. But what team's going to want an old, washed-up Kevin Love? Like, I wouldn't even want him if I was a general manager. It's like, there's no purpose of him, I guess, still left in the league, though he can mentor an up-and-coming big man. But at the same time, the Warriors are getting their entire team back together with, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, and Curry. Yes, they need a big man, but you can go pick up a big man in the draft and you'll be fine. So this trade deal doesn't need to exist and shouldn't happen. That's my story for it.
Yeah, Firmin, I think we're all probably going to be in mutual agreement here that this really makes no sense. I mean, more so for me, it makes no sense for Cleveland, again, who's trying to get back on their feet, because as it's been said, though, plenty of times, though, that when LeBron leaves your team, you're left with bad contracts and many draft picks that probably don't pan out over the next 4 to 6 years. Firmin, where do you stand on this trade, again, as mentioned, folks, but perhaps Golden State acquiring Kevin Love from the Warrior to the Warriors from Cleveland, Draymond Green going to a unnamed third ball club, while the Cavs in a way kind of get nothing back in return. Firmin, what do you got to say about this?
Yeah, it's a dumb trade. I don't really understand why this came up as a story in the first place. So I'm just looking at this right now, and for Cleveland, Kevin Love is not. I mean, I would just take him out for cash considerations if you can, but I would just ride out his contract, because you still have a guy like Colin Sexton. There's a lot of other players like Andre Drummond as well. You guys can at least still develop as a team. There's still a potential of improving your team chemistry amongst the guys that they currently have. But for the Warriors, I do not understand this decision at all, because you need Draymond Green on your team defensively. You already have a really good offense with Curry and Klay coming back. And also Wiggins is probably going to benefit more on the offense for the Warriors than defensively. So the biggest Warriors liability coming into next season is their defense. So if you're going to take in Kevin Love, who's already injury prone, and he's known to have a lot of games where he struggles a lot on defense, it's not going to turn out well for the Warriors in the long terms, because Kevin Love is he's a shooter. He loves to generate a lot of offense, but defensively, the Warriors really need to find that missing piece. And if you're going to put Kevin Love with, if you're going to already put Kevin Love with a really good, solidified core from the Warriors right now, I think it's going to be like an Obi Toppin situation. He's a good shooter, but putting him on a team that's already stacked on offense is not going to make you a high impact player. The Warriors have to really go after a good defensive players, or at least a role player that can fill in the position. And the best decision for the Warriors, in my opinion, is to just wait this out and forget about this deal and just draft a really good player as your second pick. Like, best example is James Wiseman. You should probably go after him in order to fill in the void for your offense.
With that, guys, the very trusty ESPN fantasy, the ESPN trade machine is up and running for this. Now, again, guys, if we were to do this trade straight up, just Love for Kevin Love to Golden State and Green going to Cleveland. Now, again, we don't know that third team, but guys, per the reports gathered, did it work? Let's see. No. If it was Love for Green straight up, it would not work because the Warriors are currently over the luxury tax threshold with this trade, and the incoming aggregate salaries exceed what's allowed via the 125% plus the $100,000 rule. Cut $5 million from the salary from Golden State to make the trade successful. But also, guys, that is why, though, that this trade failed, though, because there's no third team in the mix. But again, that third team, though, guys, is sadly right now unknown at this point in time with how things look right now in the NBA. But again, guys, that trade, if it was just Love for Green straight up, it would not work. So that's why that fourth team would need to be involved, or third team would need to be involved to make that trade work at this rate. Some thoughts, though, guys, about this. Christy Wilson agrees, guys. This deal makes no sense to me. Also, Casey King agrees that this deal makes no sense. Probably a Lee Hacksaw Hamilton rumor, laughing out loud. And James Gonzalez says, sounds like a 2K trade, honestly. Ha, ha, ha. Definitely agree. But again, folks, perhaps a three-team deal being consummated perhaps between Cleveland, Golden State, and an unnamed third team that would send Kevin Love to Golden State from the Cleveland Cavaliers, with Green going to an unnamed third team in the NBA. With that, guys, again, as mentioned, we are very close, guys, to the NBA draft coming up on November 18th. Trevor, we'll go to you. Do you have any draft day predictions coming up on Wednesday? What do you got?
My predictions are, who's going to trade up for the first and second pick? That's what I'm really curious about. I can't really predict who's going to do it, but I feel like there's going to be an aggressive team out there that's going to move up in the draft, and we're all going to be shocked by it. So I can't wait for draft night.
Come on,
the Lakers
Trevor,
trade for the number one overall pick. Let's go with that. Isaiah, how about you for some draft day predictions?
Trevor, I'm very disappointed with you, man. Come on, go on record, make your pick. Throw a team out there that'll trade up for the number one pick. We don't care if you're wrong or not, man.
You want me to make a pick? I'll go with my Orlando Magic. They're going to trade up and get me a good player. That's my hot take for tonight. My hottest of the hottest take. My Orlando Magic will trade up in the top 5 pick.
Isaiah, back over to you.
Trevor, I'm so happy that you made your pick, because it doesn't matter if you get the pick right or if you get the pick wrong. Because let's say you get the pick like really wrong, you could just be like me and not show up for the show the next day to face the music. But
whoa. I am not like you. I will show up and eat my pie. I will show up and eat my pie.
But in terms of my predictions, I got 2. Number 1, the dream will become reality. LaMelo Ball will become a member of the Golden State Warriors. I believe the Wolves will take either Anthony Edwards or James Wiseman, because from the latest reports that I've gathered, the Minnesota Timberwolves are really interested in James Wiseman, even though he doesn't want to be there. There's been like 2, 3, or 4 reports out there linking Wiseman to Minnesota. And also Anthony Edwards just seems like a perfect fit for Minnesota, because we know D'Angelo Russell, he needs the ball in his hands to be successful. And Anthony Edwards is a guy that can, come play off the ball, and, him and D'Angelo Russell will thrive better than Russell and LaMelo Ball, two ball-dominant guards. So I think either Edwards or Wiseman goes to Minnesota, and I think LaMelo Ball goes to Golden State, because Golden State knows this pick is not just for now. This pick is to solidify now and to solidify the future when Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and that core that they have retire and move on to greener pastures. They need a guy that can take the baton from Stephen Curry. And the Warriors right now, LaMelo fits a need for the Golden State Warriors. And that is a guy that can come off the bench and give you like he can score and run your offense. LaMelo would be a good fit in that standpoint. And he also, you can hide him on the bench. So like teams like that, that are gunning for him, can't try to expose him for his deficiency. So I think he will be a great fit for Golden State, and I think he will be ultimately the guy being groomed to take over once Stephen Curry retires from the Golden State Warriors. And the second big prediction that I have is I think we will see a major trade go down on draft night, because you've been hearing a lot of these rumors. Westbrook, Harden to the Nets. You heard about Kevin Love to the Warriors. You heard about Lakers and DeMar DeRozan, Victor Oladipo rumors. There's just a ton of rumors going on right now. And normally when there is smoke, there's fire. So I think that ultimately we will see a major trade go down on draft night. And if I have to, put some money on it, I'll probably say I think that the trade that will go down is I think the Lakers will trade for DeMar DeRozan on draft night because, the Spurs, they want to get out of salary cap hell. And DeMar DeRozan, he's only there for one more year, and they want to play their young players to accelerate the rebuild. So I think that DeRozan ends up a Laker on draft night.
All right, Firmin, plenty of there to chew on perhaps for some draft day predictions. What do you got for us for draft day or draft night predictions for Wednesday night?
Well, I've got my predictions here listed out that I wrote down. So I'm gonna make my predictions based on just all the players in all the teams in the top 5 so far, and also the top 5 picks. So I'm gonna go with that right now. For the number 1 pick for Minnesota, at least, I think there's gonna be a team on draft day that's gonna trade up for this draft pick. So whichever team's going to trade up for that draft pick, I'm pretty sure they're going to probably go after Anthony Edwards, most likely. I believe Anthony Edwards could be taken really early. Although I don't really respect Anthony Edwards as the number 1 pick, I think he's a great player. But if you compare all these prospects to Zion Williamson and some other standout number 1 pick that we already know from the beginning, I don't see any of these guys stand out. So to me, if Anthony Edwards goes first or third, it doesn't matter. But I do think he's going to go first to whichever team trades up for it for the first pick. Now, Minnesota's the first pick right now, and I think they probably need someone just besides Karl Anthony Towns. I think they need another big guy to get a dynamic duo out of Minnesota. So I would definitely, if I'm Minnesota, I would definitely go after James Wiseman right now, because he's a really good player. I've seen his highlight tape, and this guy can really shoot from anywhere. This guy has great length and is really good on offense and defense. So it's a player that you really can't miss out on if you're Minnesota. So with that being said, the number 2 pick I have is going to have to go to the Warriors. LaMelo Ball is going to the Golden State Warriors. I think this is a really great draft pick for the Warriors if this happens, because LaMelo Ball is a really good developing player that is, he's really lengthy, and he also has really good playmaking abilities when he's on the court. So if you put him in the Golden State Warriors, he's going to have a lot of time to develop and really just work off the bench, because that's what the Warriors need. They need a good role player in the bench that can really spark their offense and get a lot of players moving. And LaMelo Ball is that exact type of player. I know he has a lot of flaws, and people are really concerned about his shot and also his defensive commitment. But LaMelo Ball, I know he might be stubborn, but it's a really talented player that really no one can miss out on. And if the Warriors have been open about the fact that they need the best position fit to their team, the best position fit would be point guard, shooting guard, and LaMelo Ball is on the top of the draft board. So you're going to have to take him. Number 3, I think it was the Charlotte Hornets that's projected to be number 3 right now without any trades. The Charlotte Hornets, they got a really good duel. I don't think Devontae Graham is that consistent, but he's like a Duncan Robinson to me. He can really shoot threes on good nights. I feel like they do need to replace Terry Rozier, so in case someone else falls down the draft board, I would go after Anthony Edwards if I were the Hornets, if he's still here, or I would go after Tyrese. I think Tyrese from Iowa State, he can really get that really strong role into what the Charlotte Hornets currently have. They don't have that many players, but I definitely think if Tyrese Halliburton and Devontae Graham are the starting duel on the backcourt, it's a really good mix, especially for the Charlotte Hornets' future. So in the 4th pick in the draft, the Chicago Bulls, I think they have pretty good guards so far. I like what I'm seeing from Chris Dunn and Zach LaVine. So I think what they should be doing is going for the small ball movement. I think they should definitely take Onyeka Okongwu from USC and get this guy starting at center immediately, because I think Onyeka is a really good. He's very athletic, and I've seen all his games from Chino Hills and USC, and I think this guy has got a lot of that potential to really, add more to the field, to this Chicago Bulls offense with Zach LaVine and Lauri Markkanen and Chris Dunn starting on offense. And on top of that, you have Kobe White in the bench, and this guy just really, puts his heart out there. And when he has one of these good nights, he is your Duncan Robinson, just shoots threes nonstop, and they always go in. So I think Onyeka is a perfect fit for the Bulls offense, in my opinion. And the Bulls should honestly keep this small ball. And in the 5th pick, Cleveland's projected to be 5th. And this one's a really tough one. But I do think Cleveland needs a shooter, sort of like Kevin Love, to replace him. So I would actually pick Obi Toppin, 5th overall to Cleveland, just to get him used to this offense. And he's always your main guy. That's your spot up shooter. And he's a power forward. So if Kevin Love's contract is up or if he gets hurt, Obi Toppin is pretty much the same player, but he's probably going to have his peak eventually. So definitely invest into him if I'm the Cleveland Cavaliers.
I only have one, and I agree with Christy Wilson, guys, that the number 1 draft pick is going to be traded, because Minnesota, in my mind, they're very wishy-washy. They're like, yeah, we're going to keep it. No, we're going to trade it. Yeah, we're going to keep it, so on and so forth. Like I said, though, with Isaiah on Wednesday was, Minnesota's track record of draft picks or drafting in general is not very good because of 2 big instances, fellas. Johnny Flynn over Steph Curry being the main one, of course, that set that franchise back for a long time. And, of course, the self-destructing pick, too, of Ricky Rubio, who, of course, said, I'm not going to play for you. Your city's too cold. I just right there should show you how good the Wolves are come draft day. That's my only one I've got. That the number 1 pick is going to be dealt away as well. Some of the thoughts, guys, real quick. James Gonzalez says that the Cavs should move up to get James Wiseman. And also, James says they should draft LaMelo, trade him and Andrew Wiggins and whatever else needed to do Milwaukee to get Giannis Antetokounmpo. That might work, but who really knows how things will, in fact, look when, in fact, draft night does roll around. But again, folks, the NBA draft coming up this upcoming Wednesday on the ESPN family of networks. With that, guys, a very alarming trend today in college football, guys. We already have talked about, though, but 4 SEC games have been canceled. But now, guys, a grand total of 15 college football games have been canceled, which has prompted the raising of the alarm and the raising of concern level amongst school ADs, school presidents, and, of course, the college football and the college football leadership. Trevor, we know, of course, that we probably have, maybe lost our minds a bit too much with college football, with games being canceled and stuff like that. But Trevor, though, I think that right now, during a time, though, where I read an article earlier Friday afternoon on Yahoo Sports, though, that pretty much said, though, there is now a generally or mutual shared level of concern amongst school ADs, television networks and other, key members of these institutions and also the NCAA that they may not now finish the regular season. Now, of course, I know that we have in a way kind of changed up our apples in regards to, the NFL is doing this with COVID. And then, of course, colleges have in a way have been doing their own thing. But Trevor, with 15 games, again, 15 games have been canceled or delayed this weekend because of COVID concerns, though. Trevor, is any doubt starting to kind of creep in your mind about the remainder of the college football season? Yes or no, and why?
I think there's definitely doubt slowly growing just based on this 15. This basically on these protocols that some of these conferences have, for example, like the Big Ten, when you have players that are out for like 3 weeks, which is their protocol, which is 21 days, you basically miss basically the month of December in a nutshell. Because a month is only 4 weeks. So you basically lose an entire month for your star athletes to play, and you just can't bounce back from that. And that goes into the college football playoff picture, and it just snowballs and gets out of hand. Now, most of these schools can look at a spring ball season if they don't think they can finish the season. It's very likely, but at the same time, you run into the question is, do you restart the season where everyone starts at 0-0, or do you pick up where you left off and try to finish where you are in the spring? So there's a lot of tension trying to figure out how do you finish the season, and we're getting really close to the conference championship game. So is it possible that we may not have conference championship games where the second place team can't play because they have COVID and that gets pushed back? But does that affect the college football playoff picture? So there's a lot of question marks on how they're going to end up deciding this one for sure.
Firmin, I think, though, man, that right now there is some doubt, I think, cast right now in some people's minds. Now, probably not in certain conferences, though, but I would think, though, Firmin, that the SEC alone had 4 of their games canceled this weekend. A&M, Tennessee, notably, Bama, LSU, notably, the 2 of the 4 games that were canceled. But again, though, Firmin, we're talking about 15 games being canceled. Majority of the schedule is now off the board on Saturday, which, of course, sucks. We even had news as well, guys, that the ASU Cal game that was scheduled was also canceled. But Cal worked a deal out with UCLA to play them at the Rose Bowl on Sunday morning to play their game. And again, the Bears have not played a game yet this year because of COVID concerns with both them and with the opposition. Firmin, with 15 games being canceled this upcoming Saturday, yes or no on doubt being cast in your mind about if, in fact, college football reaches the finish line this season in your mind? Firmin, you're muted. There you go.
It's really tough to say because college football right now, there's so many games missed out. You have the Big Ten playing just half of their season compared to the Pac-12 playing half of the season compared to the SEC and some other teams. So I don't really see how this college playoff bracket's going to work out this year. So COVID's definitely messed up a lot of the scheduling. But yeah, there's a couple of takeaways from this. I just can't believe Ohio State and Maryland got canceled because I was really excited to see Talia, Tagovailoa come out here to play. He had these huge games, these last 2 games with Maryland, and I don't know. I just feel like he turned this entire ball club into an actual bowl contender. The way they rallied in their comeback against Minnesota and even taking down Sean Clifford and Penn State. This team is not a team to be disrespected anymore. So I was like, man, they got so much momentum. They got to come into this. They have to be coming into this Ohio State game with a really strong mindset. And I just can't believe it got canceled. It's just it's really disappointing. But I'm not entirely surprised either because last week when I watched the game ended between Clemson and Notre Dame, everybody in the Fighting Irish, all their fans just rushed out and stormed the gates, stormed the fences onto the field, breaking every single protocol. And, that's just really disappointing. And I don't feel like a lot of players or students are, they're actively following the protocols for COVID. I don't think a lot of these guys are aware of the severity of how, COVID's playing out. And with the way I'm seeing this trend right now, I don't really think any of this is going to get better. I think we're going to see a lot more postponed games as expected. It's going to be a lot of just messed up matchups with key players missing, like Trevor Lawrence last week against Notre Dame. even if you do have a suitable playoff game, or if you have really good teams making it into the playoff schedule, if Justin Fields goes out with COVID during the playoffs, are you going to continue the game, or are you going to postpone it? It's a really, really important key decision made by CFB, and it's tough. I don't really know how this is going to work out, in my opinion.
Isaiah, if there was ever doubt, though, and again, especially when you think about that college basketball is going to start too in just over 2 weeks on November 25th. And again, I read a report on Thursday morning that pretty much said that there was going to be 45 games played at the Mohegan Sun Casino in Uncasville, Connecticut. Very small private area, again, all on tribal Native American land in Uncasville, Connecticut. 45 games, 11 days, a bubble environment being done there. And of course, Isaiah, we still, though, have the disturbing and probably very depressing, and I think also sickening photos. Again, rightfully so, though, to celebrate the victory over number 1 ranked Clemson. But again, the pictures from above just not doing the justice. And Brian Kelly trying to get his ball club off the field as soon as possible. But again, Isaiah, more so the question at hand, though, again, with 15 games being canceled on Saturday or this weekend in college football, Isaiah, is there now doubt being cast in your mind about if, in fact, college football makes it somehow, some way to the finish line to finish out the season?
I don't think there's doubt at all, because I think college football, they only care about the money. These schools, the commissioners, they only care about the money. They don't really care about player safety. And I gotta completely agree with James Gonzalez's comment here. He said that college football, they should have started in a bubble. If you recall, the NCAA was very late in deciding how and when to play. They were very unprepared about what could possibly happen. There's just like no contingency plans. There's like no like what if like this happens and what if that happens. College football was just like, screw it, man. Like, let's just play, and then like if we need to cancel games, we'll just cancel games. So what? So I think you have to play, because like they just don't have any contingency plan. If you're going to postpone the season to spring, you're going to have a lot of parents, you're going to have a lot of players, you're going to have a lot of universities being very upset, because they're going to be looking at they're going to be like, oh, but we already did like half the season. Now you postpone it. What are you guys going to do in the spring? Like, are you guys going to, give everybody a blank slate and everybody start at 0-0 and restart the entire season? So there's just going to be a lot of uncertainty, a lot of confusion. So I think they're honestly just going to try to play the season out as best as they can. And they're just going to keep, trying just to postpone games and try to, cancel games, because college football, let's face it, they're all about the money.
And I think, as Trevor alluded to, but again, the Big Ten more so. And as I've said, though, more so, guys, over the past several months, though, the Big Ten pretty much shooting themselves in the foot with a 21-day quarantine. There's no chance in hell that they finish out their season. And also, again, I blame more on the Big Ten fellas. I know, of course, Trevor going to Ohio State, and, of course, Isaiah, for some reason, rooting for Michigan, and of course being rooting for Wisconsin, is that more so, guys, the Big Ten Conference should be ashamed of themselves for not thinking about built-in off days. And again, I know, of course, about quarantine being one thing, but 3 weeks, though, for me makes absolutely no sense. I know, of course, that the ACC has their own thing, though, with, again, checking perhaps for some cardiovascular issues, though. But, the Big Ten, I think, probably set the worst example amongst any other school or amongst any other conference in D1 football. Christy Wilson agrees, though, guys. I always figured that college football would have had a difficult time finishing out their season. And also, James says, I like college football, but don't need it during a pandemic. I definitely think a lot of us agree, but also more so in a way, though. I mean, the article I read via Yahoo Sports, guys, I think I shared it in our MI6 group chat today, was more so like, here I am about 2 weeks away from getting back to work for college basketball season. And now there's, talk of college football. But at least, though, guys, that there are some conferences or at least some events going on that are in bubble environments for basketball season right now in regards to, again, that event at Mohegan Sun Arena. There's been some talk amongst the Mountain West Conference and the West Coast Conference to utilize a bubble system maybe once conference play rolls around in December. I know, guys, that the Big West Conference, quickly here, the Big West Conference, which features UC San Diego, Cal State Northridge, they are going to a system, guys, of playing 2 games a week against the same school at the same gym Friday, Saturday back-to-back games. For example, UCSD would play Cal State Northridge 2 games in a row, Friday, Saturday in Northridge or in San Diego, to kind of, in a way, not make that long travel and knock both games of the regular season out. But again, sadly, though, folks, some very sad news, though, about Cal State CSU Northridge and their women's program. But with opt-outs, Cal State Northridge is not going to play the women's college basketball season due to only having 6 healthy players, with the others opting out, rightfully so, again, due to COVID-19 concerns. This at the current juncture of where we stand, of roughly 2 weeks away from getting back to play with college basketball. With that, though, guys, the weekend is here, though. There is plenty of football on. We'll now move on, guys, into our Pigskin Pick'em for the upcoming week here, where, again, folks, we give you our selections for 2 college football games and 2 NFL games over the course of the weekend. With that in mind, Trevor, we'll go to you first for the first game of Pigskin Pick'em. 11th-ranked Oregon visits Wazoo on Saturday. Trevor, who you got?
Give me the Ducks. They're going to make a good impression on everyone in the Pac-12, and they're going to continue this push for the college football playoffs. With all these games cancellations, it's giving the Pac-12 more of a chance to get into the college football playoff picture. So I think Oregon is the best team to get there, and they're going to be able to beat Washington State this weekend.
All right, Firmin, we got 1 vote for the Ducks out of Eugene that are taking on the Washington State Cougars. Firmin, who you got?
I got Oregon winning this as well. They had a great performance against Stanford last week. So I think Oregon's going to have a great season and finish off the Pac-12.
All right, so 2 votes for Oregon. Isaiah, clean sweep the board for us. Who you got in this game?
Let's see. The Cougs, Nick Rolovich, Jaden DeLaura, both guys from my hometown of Hawaii, versus the Oregon Ducks. Great quarterback, cute mascot. Give me that duck hat. Where's that duck hat at? Give me that duck hat. I am rolling with the Oregon Ducks. You know, I'm doing my best Lee Corso impersonation, but I'm rolling with the Oregon Ducks. The Oregon Ducks, their quarterback was fantastic last week against Stanford. They ran the football really well. This guy has a cannon of an arm. Offensive line played great. Their defense was outstanding, something that Oregon typically isn't known for. Defense. Washington State with Nick Rolovich, they run a high-powered run-and-shoot offense, but the problem with Wazoo is that their defense is not that good. They gave up a lot of points and a lot of yards last week to Oregon State. You can't do that against Oregon. Give me those Oregon Ducks. Quack, quack.
I'll just be simple. Just put that up for you. I don't need a fancy mascot. Just give me just right there. That should give you all you need to know. Next game, Trevor, on our Pigskin Pick'em is in the Big Ten and mercifully not canceled due to COVID concerns. But that, of course, Wisconsin visits the Michigan Wolverines from the Big House in Ann Arbor. Trevor, who you got?
I trust Bucky the Badger to win this game, though it's going to be a tough game from start to finish. Michigan hasn't, I guess in my mind, they can't go 3 games in a row losing. That's not Michigan. If they do that, Jim Harbaugh needs to be fired on that day, on that spot. Now, Wisconsin is going to be on the uphill battle since they only have played 1 game, and it's been like 3 weeks since last time they played. So it's going to be a slugfest from start to finish. But I think Wisconsin's going to pull it out and be 2-0 in this game.
Nothing better than a good old-fashioned slugfest. All right, Firmin, 1 vote for the Wisconsin Badgers on the road in Ann Arbor. Firmin, who do you got, the Badgers or the Wolverines?
Okay, this one's a tough one because Michigan's been pretty sloppy on offense and defense. Last 2 games, the last 2 losses were really disappointing. And I've lost a lot of faith in Joe Milton, regardless of how well he played last week with 3 touchdowns. It just ain't it. Wisconsin, at the same time, they have a really great football team, but going out with COVID and just coming back in 3 weeks without football is something else. I don't know how they're going to deal with it, and they're going to play Michigan, which is not really, not the easiest matchup coming back from a COVID breakout. So. But I think I would still have to go with the Badgers on this one because Michigan's offense is it just looks like the Broncos offense. Like first half is just a complete mess, and most of their points are going to come in from garbage time. I guarantee it against Wisconsin.
All right, Isaiah. I think you're a man. You are the man on the island here. 2 votes for Wisconsin. Give us reasons why Michigan is going to somehow, some way beat the Badgers on Saturday at home. Pull yourself off mute first.
This is probably going to come back to bite me in the ass, but I'm going to roll with the Wolverines. Damn, tongue twister. I'm going to go with Michigan to win this football game over the Wisconsin Badgers simply because Wisconsin, they had a bunch of players like with COVID. They haven't played in 3 weeks, and then to come back and have to go on the road and play in Ann Arbor against Michigan, I just think that's too tough of a task for the Wisconsin Badgers. I think they're going to be really rusty in this football game. I think their offense will be out of sync early in this football game. I think they're going to get it together towards the end, but I just think it's going to be too late when that Michigan high-powered offense goes to work in that first half against that Wisconsin defense.
Simple and easy. We'll move on to the next game. With that, guys, NFL coverage here for our Pigskin Pick'ems first game up, Trevor. AFC West, AFL West matchup here going on between the longtime divisional rivals, the Denver Broncos and the now Las Vegas Raiders from Allegiant Stadium in Paradise, Nevada. Trevor, who you got? Drew Hurt Locker or the Vegas Raiders led by Derek the Muscle Man Carr? What do you got for us?
Isaiah, Drew Luck can't dance his way out of this one, so I'm going to go with the Raiders on this one. The Raiders are looking for this wild card berth and getting back into the playoff picture, so the Raiders got to keep this hot streak going. And who knows, they could somehow win this division. The Chiefs could lose a few key games, and boom, the Raiders clinch this division. So let's see if the Raiders can continue pressing forth and winning this game and winning this division.
All right, Firmin, we got 1 vote for the Raiders at the Roomba on Sunday. Who you got in this one, Denver or Vegas?
I got the Raiders. I mean, I think the Raiders are going to win the division over Kansas City. This is a great team, and it's a lot different from the Raider team that you've seen in Oakland. This team has completely changed, and they've beaten a lot of great teams this year. They beat the Browns, the Chiefs, and they had a really good one against the Chargers. They even beat the Saints in week 2. The Broncos are just a JV team coming in against the Raiders, and if you're the Broncos, I really don't think you're going to win with Drew Lock because Drew Lock hasn't shown that he can play a decent game throughout 4 quarters. And the Raiders have a high-powered offense, and they're going to really put a lot of pressure on you. And I'm just so happy for Derek Carr to have finally cut down on all the turnovers in the past season because he really needs to step it up in the second half, and he really did in the last few weeks. Cutting down on the turnovers and just consistently scoring the key drives, just getting the points on the board is key to winning. And it showed last week against the Chargers. A huge defensive standout, a huge defensive stand in the 4th quarter to end the game. So yeah, this whole Raiders unit is great. I believe this team will win the division, and they're going to have no problems against Denver.
Trevor, I've known you for maybe 3 or 4 months, and I've never seen you without your glasses on. What happened here, buddy?
No, I'm preparing for the next pick'em. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I was going to say, because I thought you pulled your glasses off because Firmin pulled an Isaiah Leung and totally stunned the panel by saying the Raiders are going to win the AFC West Division Championship. Isaiah, that's bottom square's job, not your job to make outlandish, utter lunacy takes like that. Isaiah, Trevor and Firmin both have the Raiders. How about you?
Oh, good God. Listen, the Broncos and the Raiders, they always play tough, competitive, close games against one another. No matter if one team is very good and the other team sucks, they always manage to play really close games. I think that this game is going to be a very close game again, but give me the Donkeys in a squeaker. Give me Drew Lock. Give me Vic Fangio. And give me the Denver Broncos to squeak this one out in the Roomba in Las Vegas. I just think, Denver's defense led by Vic Fangio. They have Bryce Callahan coming back. They have AJ Boye coming back as well. I think their defense will be much better. And I think that in the second half and in the fourth quarter of that game against the Falcons, I think that Pat Shurmur and Drew Lock finally found the secret ingredient to making their offense great, and that is feeding Jerry Jeudy. And I think they're going to look to get that going in the first half against the Las Vegas Raiders, and ultimately I think Denver prevails, but I think Denver will prevail on a game-winning field goal by Brandon McManus, keeping the Denver Broncos AFC West division hopes, and my hopes of getting that pick that I have for the AFC West, that pick that Callan, John, and everybody else on the MI6 Sports Network called ludicrous. I have just a little bit hope of keeping that prediction right.
Firmin, you're off the hook with your outlandish thoughts about the Raiders winning the AFC West because Isaiah apparently just took back his throne as the worst hot take giver on the network. I also like Vegas at home, but also that Vegas has looked a lot better. Though I think that Trevor's onto a good point, though, and also Firmin's onto a good point, though. These aren't the same old Raiders. Yes, they've looked that way maybe in some games, though, but they are. But to me, though, it seems like that they've been somewhat in a way brought back to life in regards to Gruden with his play calling. The play so far of Derek Carr has been absolutely phenomenal so far, and so many phenomenal, great offensive plays. Though, of course, the defense bailed them out though last Sunday versus the Chargers. But I will go though with the Raiders at home to knock off Denver and continue on with their great stretch of the season so far. With that, guys, the next matchup is a long-time NFC North matchup. The Chicago Bears at home at Soldier Field take on the rivals from up in Minneapolis, the Minnesota Vikings led by Kirk Cousins. But with that, guys, before we actually get to the game, though, let's check in on how banged up the Bears have been with their Week 10 injury report, guys. And it is not good news for Chicago fans out there, as both Jimmy Graham and Akeem Hicks were both full participants today at practice, though. But, guys, look at all those DNPs on Friday. John Jenkins, Cole Kmet, Sherrick McManus, David Montgomery, and so many other key cogs of this Bears team either not practicing in full or very limited in practice time for their Monday night matchup against the Vikings at home at 5:15 on ESPN. Trevor, over to you. What do you got for us in this ball game, big fella?
I got to go with my, lo and behold, Captain Kirk. He's going to be able to lead the Minnesota Vikings to greatness and glory and bring them one step closer to being a 500 team. Though people have doubted Captain Kirk, he will not fail this time at Bears and put Minnesota back on track to become a wild card team.
All right, Firmin, we have one vote for Minnesota on the road nonetheless. Again, who knows how the weather's going to be in Chicago, of course, at Soldier Field with this game. But as mentioned, the Bears very banged up, though, on both sides of the ball. Firmin, who do you got in this NFC North clash between Minnesota and Chicago on Monday Night Football on ESPN?
Oh, that's going to be tough because I saw Roquan Smith being limited on the list. So I think missing him out on defense is really significant because the Bears have to rely on defense to win this game. But they still have Khalil Mack, I guess, and a bunch of good secondaries. So, you know what? I'm going to have to give this to the Chicago Bears. You know, Chicago Bears have no offense, but Kirk Cousins, I guarantee you he's going to take 10 sacks against the Chicago Bears on Monday as usual. Going out against Chicago Bears is his kryptonite ever since he's stepped into the Minnesota Vikings uniform, and it's going to happen. It's going to be the same thing every single time they play the Chicago Bears. Week after week, or at least twice a year, it's going to be the same result. Kirk Cousins, you're going to have to, I don't know. Let's just hope Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison's going to have a good running game because you're probably going to be limited to 30 passing yards in 3 quarters. And you're going to take 6 sacks in 3 quarters, and your offense is going to have 0 points. I think the Bears might have to win this one. I'll probably say they'll win 6-0, 6-0, Chicago Bears.
What is this, the NFL? What is this, the NFL being played in like 1930 with Papa Bear Hollis still coaching Chicago? A 6-0 game. It's going to boil down to Cairo Santos making field goals. Oh my goodness gracious. All right, Isaiah, we have 1 vote for Minnesota, 1 vote for Chicago. Who you got here in this game and why?
Well, Callan, before I get into my pick, I just gotta say, I think our Pigskin Pick'em segment has turned into what College Game Day does, which is we bring our props aboard to pick games. I think that's what it has turned into, with me bringing the Duck, Trevor rocking the Captain Kirk hat, Firmin bringing in the Bears. So I think every game, who knows, we might need to bring some props in to see, to show who we're picking. But this game is tough because the Bears, they have David Montgomery. He's the guy that gets their offense going. I think he did not practice. Am I correct on that, Callan?
That is correct, as a concussion protocol.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough loss for an already anemic offense. Akeem Hicks, one of their top defensive linemen, he also didn't practice. Roquan Smith was limited. Give me the 49ers to beat the Bears on Monday. Give me the. I'm sorry, give me the Minnesota Vikings to beat the Bears on Monday Night Football. Given the fact. I'm sorry. I had this whole thing. Like, I was looking at my Nick Mullins jersey, and I was like, for some reason, I was thinking about the Niners and Saints game and what the Niners should do. And it is like, I see.
What?
Yes.
Yeah, Isaiah.
Hey,
I don't think. Listen, this even goes for Callan. I don't know. Like, I don't think the Bears offense, or I don't think the Vikings offense is any better than the Bears banged up offense right now if they play against Chicago. There's no way. I don't think the Minnesota Vikings are going to have a good drive. Like, I'm going to stand by what I have to say, Isaiah. 6-0 Chicago Bears. It doesn't matter how banged up the Bears are. I don't know how you and Trevor have the Vikings winning this.
Cairo Santos is the hero if that happens.
but yeah, give me the Bears, or give me the Vikings to beat the Bears on Monday Night Football, and also give me the 49ers and Nick Mullins to go into the damn Superdome.
Well,
Sorry to go off script there, but I just had to throw that out there.
Everybody has a prop, so I'll put a beanie on because it's supposed to be 34 degrees and raining on a Monday in Chicago. That probably turns into snow or sleet, maybe, knowing Chicago. But I'm going with Minnesota in this game, guys. This might, of course, blow your mind. But mainly, as I have said, though, guys, when I made my picks, though, on my morning stream on Thursday, guys, it's going to boil down in my mind to the running game for this game, because Chicago's defense, guys, is great. Believe me, they've been, known for their defense for, their entire franchise history of over 101 years. But Dalvin Cook versus that defense is what I think is going to win this game for Minnesota, but also Chicago's offense. And if they do not have David Montgomery, I can't trust them even if they had a better quarterback in place. I can't trust Foles. I can't trust Nagy. Nor, though, could I think, though, that the only thing that might save the Bears, though, guys, in this game is now that the reports came out today, guys. I even shared this in the group chat, though, that Matt Nagy is not calling plays on offense on Monday. So we'll see how that experiment goes, though. But if David Montgomery is not playing in this game, you can't rely on Nick Foles to throw the ball 40, 50, 60 times in a ball game. I know, of course, that the Vikings are not very good, though. But if Dalvin Cook is in the zone, that Bears defense is going to be worn down very, very quickly with how, in fact, he's looked so far. That's why I have Minnesota winning this ball game over Chicago. And, of course, the weather may be one big factor, though. Of course, the Vikes playing in a dome. Chicago's played in the elements for their entire franchise history. But I got Minnesota on the road to knock off the Bears and send them back to 500 and probably send them further down the NFC North standings. Also, some thoughts here, guys, real quick. That James says that with Isaiah saying the 49ers, not the Vikings, that is a blooper of the week candidate. I strongly approve of that message 100%. With that, though, guys, we'll now wrap things up and head on over into tonight's Power 5. Keeping the food streak alive here, folks, on our Power 5 for this November 13th. And, of course, guys, we're about 2 weeks away from the Thanksgiving holiday. Of course, thanks to Isaiah Leung and his brainy ideas about this Power 5. Tonight's Power 5, guys, will be Thanksgiving foods. Of course, 2 weeks away from the Thanksgiving holiday. Of course, a great time for family getting together and, of course, watching football, but also diving into some very great dishes. Maybe it's a family recipe you guys have had in the household for a long, long time, whether it's, canned yams or it's a certain pie. You guys have to have, again, plenty of options. But Trevor, we'll start with you with your Power 5 foods for Thanksgiving. What do you got for us, pal?
I was joking with the, cast for No BS before I hopped on, and I found the YouTube video with the greens, beans, potatoes, and I shared that with those guys. I was saying that could be my Power 5 and play the song, be done, and move on with my life. But I took some time to actually craft out my list. So number 5, I have to go with the green beans. Green beans are just classic to have at Thanksgiving. And you just have to cook them right, and you can always pile them on, and it's always a nice addition to your plate on Thanksgiving. To continue with the greenness, my number 4 is collard greens. Yes, you see, I have a lot of green on my plate. Make sure I am eating healthy during Thanksgiving and just being filled up with some great soul food. Number 3 on my list, I have the cornbread. It's a classic.
Yeah.
You can't leave it off of this list. And I have it almost every Thanksgiving. Number 2 on my list, it's the Holy Grail, the drumstick. I always get myself the drumstick every Thanksgiving. I look like a caveman and just eating the stick all the way there from start to finish.
Okay, Bam Bam.
And the first time I ever had a drumstick was at a music festival, and I literally walked around with a turkey leg and eating it. And that's how I got hooked on it for Thanksgiving. And my number 1 pick is my mom's mac and cheese. I gotta love it. I can't hate it. I always pile it on for Thanksgiving every year, and I make sure my plate is stuffed with it so I can have it. And then I would throw in an honorable mention for number 6 is dinner rolls, because they're nice, soft, and fluffy. You just can't go wrong with a nice dinner roll.
Now, douse those things in butter or honey, right?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Ooh.
Yes, sir. All right, Firmin, over to you, man. Again, plenty of food options at the table. Again, maybe you probably have a long passed down recipe from generation to generation. Maybe like Trevor said about his mom's mac and cheese, maybe. Firmin, what are your Power 5 foods for Thanksgiving?
Well, to start off for number 5, it's not really food, but it is a Thanksgiving tradition to have it around the table. It is cranberry juice. I love cranberry juice, and just drinking it just makes me feel so good for the entire day. I know it's a sweet and it's not the healthiest, but I can never miss out on it on Thanksgiving. You've got to have that out there. And at number 4, I'm going to also have to continue on with the sweets. You're going to have to give me some apple pie.
Attaboy.
Finishing off all the course meals with some good dessert, sweet dessert, and also some warm desserts. So apple pie is just a combination of so many things that I love. At number 3 for Thanksgiving, I'm going to have to give this one to buttermilk biscuits, because these are the best tasting carbs I've ever had. One of the best tasting carbs I've ever had. And they usually only come out on Thanksgiving. And other than that, the only other place that reminds me of really good buttermilk biscuits is KFC. They've got really good, these fresh, crunchy ones. And then once you stick butter inside it, it just tastes so good. So I can't wait to have these for Thanksgiving. And at number 2, I'm going to have to really stick with the traditionals. You can't really have a full meal on Thanksgiving without turkey and gravy. So I have to include this on the list. You got to get all that protein and all that tasty gravy. Just pour it on top, and that's almost your entire meal for Thanksgiving. So you can't miss out on those. You have to have that. And so to wrap it off for number 1, this has got to be the cornbread. Cornbread is the best tasting thing I've ever had for Thanksgiving, and I can never go wrong with cornbread. I've got to have it on my dish or on my plate to supplement the turkey and gravy and everything else. So wherever I see a Thanksgiving gathering, you've got to include or at least get some cornbread. That's enough for everybody, especially me. So since cornbread is my number 1 take, I would love to have some honorable mention, because with this type of recipe, you've got to have cornbread in it, and it makes it taste so much better with cornbread, which is the classic stuffing. You've got to have that stuffing in with cornbread, some celery, and then also mixing in some turkey and gravy if you want to have a bigger meal. So that would be my honorable mention, and that's going to wrap up my top 5 for Thanksgiving foods.
Plenty of great options with that, Firmin. All right, Isaiah, you're the king of always having plenty of food discussion on this network and all these programs. Give us your Power 5 foods for Thanksgiving time.
Well, before I do that, Callan, I think you might want to keep that frame with the 4 of us on there just to see each one of our reactions when I say something ludicrous, and then you might see a couple of you guys walk off the set. But my honorable mention before I start my my top 5 is got to be mashed potatoes. You know, mashed potatoes, you always have it during Thanksgiving. I love the garlic mashed potatoes with the butter. It's so good. Mashed potatoes is my honorable mention. Number 5, it's got to be the gravy, because the gravy is what makes everything comes together. You can't have a Thanksgiving meal without gravy. You know, if you have like turkey without gravy, it's going to be too dry and it's just not going to be good. Mashed potatoes without gravy, that's disgusting. So the gravy is what brings everything together. So it's number 5 on my list. Number 4 is got to be the yams. I love yams. They're so sweet. They're so good. You only have them during the holidays. Most of the time, like besides the holidays, you have sweet potato. But yeah, the yams are so good and so sweet. Number 3 is, I don't think any of you guys have mentioned it, which I'm really surprised about because it is normally a staple on the Thanksgiving table, and that is the stuffing. Stuffing is one of my favorites, man. I love it. You know, I always get at least 2 portions of it because it's so good. Number 2, the turkey. The turkey, you've got to include the turkey, man. Like, there's no way that you can't. Like, if you don't include a turkey, like in your Thanksgiving meal, whether it's the tofu turkey or just a regular turkey, then that's not really Thanksgiving. Yeah, I know, Callan, some of my friends, they're vegetarians.
Never heard of it, but okay.
Yeah, they eat the tofurkey. I think that's what it's called. But yeah, hey, but it's basically a turkey made out of tofu. But the my family friend makes a really good turkey. I mean, like, you take a bite out of it and it's still super juicy. I know there's some turkey that you take a bite out of it and it's like really dry and not really that good. But guys, you guys, maybe during the Thanksgiving show, I'll mail you guys some of my aunt's like turkeys. So good.
It's gonna be hard.
And
number 1 gets here in 6 weeks.
Probably. But number 1, Trevor, Firmin, Cal, y'all ready for this? Number 1 is the pumpkin pie. The pumpkin pie is my favorite food of Thanksgiving every year. This is like it.
Here's you, here's Matt. There's you, there.
Every year, Thanksgiving is the only time you eat it. I love Costco's pumpkin pie. It's just right. It's not too watery. It's not too drippy. It's not too hard. It's just right. It is so good. I love Costco's pumpkin pie. You only get it for $5. And it's so big, so it's so worth it. But that's my top 5: gravy, yams, stuffing, turkey, and the pumpkin pie. And I can't wait to have a lot of pumpkin pie this Thanksgiving.
Isaiah, how many times have you listed pumpkin pie as the number 1 in our food, in our pick'ems in general? Like, how many times has this reached your number 1 for some odd reason?
Well, we had it for top 5 desserts, top 5 pies, and now Thanksgiving foods. That's just how much I love pumpkin pie, man. I even had pumpkin pie on our Halloween spooktacular. I even had pumpkin pie a couple of nights ago when me and Callan were doing the night shift. It's just so good. Like, I don't know, like, how, like, the pumpkin pie to me. The pumpkin pie to me is the greatest invention in mankind history.
It's like you're making a dynasty with pumpkin pie. This is what it is, basically is. It's like the New England Patriots, Alabama, and then Isaiah's pumpkin pie. Those are...
Isaiah, what's your favorite color?
What do you mean? What's my favorite color?
I'm just
You're gonna
curious.
say orange.
Orange. Look at this.
Out of all the food on the menu on Thanksgiving time, the damn pumpkin pie for Isaiah.
They're called pumpkin pie.
I officially announce, as of November 13th, 2020, we are doing no more food rankings of Power 5 on No BS. And that is an executive order. And if Isaiah asks again, the answer is this. No. Never again are we doing food after tonight for Power 5. I'll keep mine, folks, short, sweet, and to the point here with my Power 5 today. I agree, though, with Isaiah, with gravy being at number 5 again. Pretty much, I love barbecue sauce and everything, just like how Pat Mahomes loves ketchup on everything. Gravy is your go-to sauce on Thanksgiving Day. Number 4 for me has got to be stuffing, but it's also going to be on my list. I mean, I could probably eat at least 3, 4, 5 spoonfuls maybe if I'm still feeling hungry once the last game of the day comes on for pro football on Thanksgiving Day. I'll have turkey clocking at number 3 for my list. Of course, turkey, the main staple of the holiday, and of course, that's what we all know. Number 2 on my list, I'm going to go, guys, with one that wasn't really talked about, but I'm going to go with cranberry sauce on this one. I know, of course, what someone said about cranberries in general, with cranberry sauce. But, guys, number 1 for me, though, might surprise you a bit, a good old-fashioned honey-baked ham. I am a huge fan of ham sandwiches the day after the holiday is over with. Leftover turkey and ham sandwiches can get me through the whole rest of the weekend on that day. And my honorable mention will be mashed potatoes as well. With that, though, we did have a couple of other Power 5s, guys, trickle in. We'll go first to Chardol. He ranks his 5 through 1. He'll go with green bean casserole. My mom makes one mean green bean casserole, so good choice there, Chardol. 4, mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce, roasted turkey, and his number 1, Isaiah, actually trumps you, pecan pie at number 1 for Chardol on Thanksgiving Day. Also writing in, Christy Wilson agrees about cranberry sauce, gents, at number 5. Christy will go with mashed potatoes and gravy at 4. She'll go with stuffing at 3. Pumpkin pie is 2 in her mind, but it's got to be turkey, though, at number 1. And her honorable mention is green beans. James writes in with his Power 5. Green beans, turkey, dinner rolls, scalloped cheesy potatoes. That was not mentioned on this list. And number 1, the Swiss Army knife, the go-to. It's gravy, and also James declares, too, he will never, ever, ever, ever eat pumpkin pie again, thanks to Isaiah ruining it on tonight's program. With that now, guys, after another lengthy 2-hour show, we shall move on over now into tonight's Final Thoughts. Mercifully bring an end to the week here of coverage and bring an end to Isaiah talking food on this program. Trevor, over to you, buddy. What do you got for final thoughts for the night's program, man?
And no, we can't no longer talk about food on this show. So it's everyone, a sad...
Trevor, everyone can except Isaiah because he does it every single time.
Oh, okay. That's better because now I can bring up 5 guys for a Power 5 one day. Who knows? But Isaiah can't talk about food because he's on food probation at this point in time. But it was a fantastic show. I loved every moment of it from start to finish and can't wait to see what is left of the college football season and how this season unfolds and who gets in the college football playoffs.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Of course, as mentioned, folks, 15 college football games being canceled over the course of the weekend, again, with so many cases or an influx of cases of COVID. We'll go to Isaiah for your final thoughts. What do you got tonight, sir?
Yeah, my final thoughts. Actually, before I get into my final thoughts, I want to thank James Gonzalez. Sorry for ruining the pumpkin pie for you, bud. But James Gonzalez, Christy Wilson, Shardul Gupta, Let's see who else we got here. Casey King, Bryson, Jeffrey Breedlove, Casey Espin, and Jonathan Mathis. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really, really appreciate the love and the support, and you guys always flooding our comment box with just fantastic comments. We really appreciate you guys. My final thoughts, Callan, is, ladies and gentlemen, I might not make the best predictions on this show, but you guys got to listen to me when it comes to this betting advice. Put your money on Nick Mullins and the San Francisco 49ers this weekend to go into the Superdome and beat the Saints, because the Niners have all these weapons coming back. Brandon Ayuk's coming back. Brandon Ayuk's coming back. I think Richard Sherman's coming back. There's a lot of guys that are finally getting healthy and are finally coming back for the San Francisco 49ers. I know I'm missing like a couple of names, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. But I don't think there's going to be any fans down there in New Orleans. It's going to be a quiet dome. Nick Mullins has had success in the dome. And what the Niners need to beat the Saints is they need to run the ball. Yes, Kyle Shanahan, run the ball. 3 words for you. Run the ball and let Nick Mullins play in an up-tempo offense, get the ball out quick, and I think that he will have some success neutralizing that pass rush in New Orleans on Sunday. So bet on the San Francisco 49ers and Nick Mullins to beat the New Orleans Saints on Sunday. And also, I might be taking the entire weekend off because if the Niners lose, if Michigan loses, if any other teams, the Broncos lose, you probably won't see me this weekend. I'll probably be hiding there in my bunker drinking some pina colada. So, Callan, just a warning for you. I see the. But in all seriousness, though, make sure you guys tune in this upcoming week. We've got a lot of great programs for you. I'm going to let my guy Callan introduce the programs that we have lined up for next week. It's going to be a fantastic week, so make sure you guys tune in next week for a great slate of episodes.
It's going to be a great week, folks. Of course, a major thank you to all of our viewers again as we inch ever so closer to 2,000 Anchor podcast listens. Again, folks, we're getting ever so close, so keep listening and, of course, keep subscribing to us on your podcast channels. But again, folks, those updates, as already stated once, though, but again, folks, we'll have a NBA draft special program coming your way at 3:45 p.m. this Wednesday, November 18th, to again get you set for the NBA draft. We'll cover the first 2 rounds, give our thoughts on each live selection, and we will go from there. And again, we'll be off the air with Wild Sports Talk that day. And also, folks, next Saturday, November 21st, will be our network Thanksgiving special coming your way sometime between 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening Pacific time to, again, talk to sports, but also, again, talk about the year that, of course, it's been, but also all the things that we're thankful for via the wide world of sports. And also, folks, important note as well, but coming up on Sunday, the 22nd, will be our final show. We are, folks, taking the entire week of Thanksgiving off from hosting programs here. Again, Trevor and the boys that are, in fact, away from home are going back home for the holiday. So, folks, we'll take that whole day off to, again, let everyone take the week off and, again, more so hang out with family and friends, hopefully in a very nice manner. But with that, though, folks, again, we thank you for making us a part of your Friday night. For Trevor Williams, Isaiah Leung, Firmin Lee, and the entire cast and crew here of the MI6 Sports Network, yours truly, Callan McClurg, saying goodnight from San Diego. We'll see you folks back here, as mentioned, on the night shift on Saturday and on Sunday, right back here inside of the MI6 Sports Network. But first, we'll let Firmin have one final last word here.
All right, so I've announced this upset 3 weeks ago, so I need to just leave this out here for my final thoughts. But 3 weeks ago, I announced a very specific upset on this football team. And on Sunday, it's going to happen again because the Los Angeles Rams are going to beat Seattle Seahawks this Sunday. You're going to watch it happen, trust me. Because time after time, the Rams have always been dominant against Seattle Seahawks, and it is going to happen. Russell Wilson, you lost last week to the running MVP. He's going to take over as the running MVP. So good luck on Sunday against the Rams, man. Is this going to be your last chance to prove yourself? You lost to Arizona. I called that upset when they were 5-0, and it's going to happen again. Trust me.
My apologies, Firmin, for forgetting about your final thoughts, but more so was, I got another upset here coming up in the NFL. But with that in mind now, folks, we got everyone in finally for final thoughts. Again, for Trevor Williams, Isaiah Leung, and our buddy Firmin Lee, yours truly, Callan McClurg, saying goodnight from San Diego. We'll see you folks back here again on the night shift on Saturday, Sunday to recap all the big college football and NFL action, and of course, all the other big news going on across the wide world of sports. Till next time, folks, have a good one. Take care, and so long. Bye-bye.
Yeah. 3-6, Mafia. Whoa. Hey, yeah. Whoa. Say what? Hey, whoa. 3-6, Mafia.